In October 1950, China moved troops into Tibet, ultimately stationing an estimated 250,000 troops there. Lhasa appealed to the UN for help, but none was forthcoming. Tibet's spiritual leader, the 23-year-old Dalai Lama, tried his best to keep China at bay, but his efforts were failing. China forced upon Tibet the 17-point agreement, which promised no interference in or alteration of the existing political system in Tibet, or the established status, function, and powers of the Dalai Lama, and guaranteed freedom of religious belief. But that was not to be, as the Chinese intended to eventually arrest the Dalai Lama. Over the next decade, many in Tibet revolted against Chinese domination. Reports from the period talk of Chinese suppression of dissent.
I'm here with Mr. Palden and his son, Sarin Wanchen. What he narrated is that at the time when the Chinese forces arrived in Tibet, they were forcing the local population to participate in forced labor activities, which the Chinese government presented as kind of community action-oriented plans for development that they did not want to participate in, because they felt that their families were being torn apart by such steps taken by Beijing.
During this turbulent period, Tibet witnessed the formation of its only guerrilla group, the Chushi-Gangruk. The Chushi-Gangruk, trained by the CIA and assisted by 2 CIA radio operators, were instrumental in helping the Dalai Lama escape.
Mr. Palden is one of the last few survivors of the famous resistance group from Tibet called Dokam Chushi-Gangruk.
पिताजी बता रहा था कि दोकम चूशी का जो हेड लीडर्स लोग हैं उन लोगों के साथ में जो अमेरिकन का जो हेड है उसका साथ में बातचीत हुआ तो वहाँ से कुछ हम लोग का दोकम चूशी का वहाँ से आदमी ट्रेनिंग के लिए ले गया था तो वहाँ से ट्रेनिंग सब वगैरह करके फिर ड्रॉपिंग शुरू किया था.
In March 1959, the CIA Tibet Task Force in the US was alerted in the middle of the night. An Op-Im, or Operation Immediate, was underway in Tibet. The Chushi-Gangruk were on the move with the Dalai Lama. The Chushi-Gangruk had cleared the path by killing or catching all Chinese soldiers along the route in the Lokha region. On March 17, 1959, the Dalai Lama slipped into plain clothes and left his Sama palace in Lhasa with a group of 20 people, including 6 cabinet ministers of the Tibetan government. His epic journey of 15 days on foot, boat and horseback was across harsh terrain and worse weather conditions. The group travelled during the night through snow and thunderstorm across the Brahmaputra and the Himalayas. Rathuk Gawang, a CIA-trained Chushi-Gangruk member, recalled in an interview in 2009, His Holiness walked by footlace known as Dramatrika, where there was a boat. After crossing the river, horses were kept ready. Chushi-Gangruk volunteers were waiting. I was able to meet His Holiness in a place known as Drachima. Then, with 10 or 12 horse riders, we escorted him secretly. Finally, on 31st March 1959, the Dalai Lama arrived at the Tawang Monastery in Arunachal Pradesh, just 80 kilometers from the border. Without a political and spiritual leader, the Tibetan region came fully under Chinese control. Since then, the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan government in exile have been based in Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh. Over 1.2 lakh Tibetans have fled since 1959, and over 94,000 of them live in India. The Chushi-Gangruk were among the first Tibetans to leave their homes once the Dalai Lama escaped. They are now at the sunset of their lives. But what of their stories?
We are here with his family here in Tezu's Lama camp and recording a part of Tibetan history in India which is fast fading away. This is Kalol Bhattacharjee for The Hindu.